But we also, well, that's a big question. Why did I leave? I know it was.
I'm trying to avoid actually saying that, but that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, there became a sort of, Mike and I started seeing things differently, and doing things like Mars, etc., on the road constantly, and it started to have a sort of negative feeling for us. And Mike has his own version of it, but I basically don't think I was really sort of mature enough to deal with what was happening, because the band was becoming very, very big. We were like just blowing people's minds, basically, and with the shows. And I sort of made a fairly rash decision, a very sort of spontaneous decision, and I probably should have talked to someone about it first instead of just like coming out with it. But that was I just wanted to get back to England, and I probably should have waited. Got back and then just got regrouped, as it were. And but having made the announcement, it was hard to sort of like put the genie back in the bottle, as it, you know. And so, and I think I know it affected Robert a lot, and I think at that point he decided that he didn't want that to happen again, and became more in control of everything.
It just, I never really read any literature for some of us buying King Crimson albums, so, but that's what occurs to me in the music. It's just that it seems like the first album is a unified band effort. There's no real leader, and then later on after that, it seems like there's some stronger personalities coming through. And other things, it all seems to be carried in the music somehow.
Right.
At the time.
I mean, we all have regrets, I suppose, but I probably should have done the second album. I probably should have at least stayed through the second album, because we were actually working on new material. Like Pictures of a City, we were actually doing that live, and we had new material like Trees in the works, and it would have been nice to have had a second album from the original group, but sorry, I'm the culprit.
Well, you think it was just maybe the fact that your manager was back in England and you needed somebody to say, wait a minute, you're coming off of, I mean, that's, when you look at the itinerary, that's a horrible tour.
Well, it was, I mean, it was, I don't know about a horrible tour.
No, I mean horrible as far as you're here and you're there.
It was a bit stressful. And we were a sort of just a bunch of kids sort of out there. We didn't have management with us, and I mean, I'm not going to. I mean, I take entire responsibility for leaving and making that decision. But I don't know how it was a strange band, because we were very close musically. We basically, as you said, but we didn't really mix socially, and so it wasn't like I could go to the others and say, look guys, I'm having trouble, and
co-workers more than friends in a sense.
Right. I mean, we didn't sort of really mix. I only started really talking to Mike Giles on that tour. I hardly knew him really, socially in any way, and we didn't mix socially. And even though Pete Sinfield was a friend of mine, for some reason I didn't even tell him that I was thinking of leaving or anything like that. So it was a strange band socially. Maybe it was just, and we didn't sort of blend together as personalities particularly well. But as I say, musically it was a different matter. And it was just like a bubble really that just burst at a particular moment.
You're talking about doing tours and blow people's minds and stuff like that. What do you remember about Hyde Park?
What do I remember? Oh, that was great. Hopefully that recording will come out at some point. But
sometime, yeah. Mentioning no names again.
It will come out. I think there has to be some agreements, some business that has to be taken care of. I think.
Well, how come there's a difference between that and, say, some of the other early recordings from that period?
Well, it's just at the point. I think basically Greg was motivated by the. I can't really speak too much about the sort of politics of discipline and King Crimson and all that, but it sort of got to the point where we needed to have some kind of a say in what was going to be released and what wasn't. At least, I think Greg had felt more strongly
Well,
some of the
you
others.
can get the show from the night before, the marquee show, and to me that's a wonderful show. The quality of the recording is not great, but I talked to the When you play Mellotron, I think, on a number of points in that.
Right.
Less flute than Mellotron. To me, that was very interesting.
That's, yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
You know, the Hyde Park concert, I think, will be released at some point. It's been speed corrected because I think you sent me the copy of that, and it was a bit running a bit fast.
Yeah, right.
But so it's all been speed corrected, and we've done liner notes for it and everything. So hopefully it'll come out, you know, once we get the business sorted out.
Isn't there film of that show also? I've heard there's about a 5-minute clip of film circulating around
I've
it.
heard, I've never seen it.
Yeah. Well, that would be great if you could put the sound to the film and finally see some live King Crimson in '69.
That was done in some context, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Lark Swings an Aspic or something. I've got a video of Lark Swings an Aspic.
Yeah.
Part 2, it's just like 5 minutes or 10 minutes long. You can tell it's film quality.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't actually seen it, but hopefully that'll come out.
So there actually is no, as far as the studio version of I Talked to the Wind, there is no Mellotron in that track, right? But live you would use it.
No, there's no Mellotron. There is piano
Soft.
deep down in the track, but no, it's just flutes.
And clarinet.
Clarinets.
Double clarinets.
Yeah. And that's electric guitar, bass and drums. Yeah.
Has there been any discussion of doing it all one more time?
It's been bandied around, you know, over the years, but the chances of that happening are very, very slim. So there has been talk of putting some kind of a group together, but with Crimson alumni, as it were. But that's sort of in the works. It's sort of just still a drawing board. But as far as the original group getting back together, it's highly unlikely.
It's really interesting over the years because the band that I played in did a lot of, we did everything but Moonchild in the band, and so we became known as, you know, a King Crimson type of, it wasn't a tribute band, but I'd say a lot of it. We played 7 or 8 Crimson tunes, and we played all over Canada and into the States, and it's amazing how many, you probably were seen by about 45 million people on that first tour to talk to people. Oh yeah, I saw King Crimson in Detroit and blah blah blah. And there are so many people who say, when you actually get down to it, people, well, obviously you didn't see it. Yeah, well, you know, I mean, I have the same story. I could have seen the band who didn't. And I mean, there are so many people who would just love to hear that live once, because it was a very special band. It really comes out on that first Epitaph double CD set, you know.
Especially discs 3 and 4, which actually are my favourites, even though the sound quality is not that great.
The Plumpton Festival one,
Right.
I mean, it's
Chesterfield.
so obvious that this band was light years ahead of everybody else, and I think the thing that hits me as more of a classically trained musician is, I mean, that band was so incredibly well rehearsed compared to what was out there at that point, where people would just get up on stage and not really have a clue as to what the other person was going to play. And there's an obvious interplay between, especially I find between you and Giles. You'll play something and all of a sudden he's, you know, 3 bars later he's playing the same rhythm that you just played, and you didn't hear that at that time. And
Right. Well, that was the thing. There was the two. There were 2 sort of sides to Crimson. There was the one that was an incredibly well rehearsed side. I mean, we basically had 2 months of straight rehearsal before we went on the road or in the studio. And there were various, I hate to use the word, but very disciplined arrangements, you know, like with skits right and all that sort of thing. But then, of course, there was the other side, which was totally free. And there was the reason that, in my opinion, that it worked is that we just trusted each other implicitly with during those improvisations, and we were, as I said, we were sort of basically having fun with the improvisations. But any one of us could just go out on a limb and know that the other person was to pick it up or support it, or even to be perverse to deliberately not support it, just leave the other guy out